Hello, everybody.
Welcome. Welcome. So, for those of you who are just joining us, make sure to give us a comment or a thumbs up. Let us know you are here. And we are coming today because we were not live yesterday. It was Memorial Day. So today we are going to be showing you how to do a faux stamp card using a Cricut Explorer machine. Really, you could use the Cricut Maker, anything. And we're going to show you in Cricut Design Space, plus show you how to construct the card. So we'll give a few seconds for people to join. Hey Melody, how's it going?
Melody.
So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. So I have done a ton of card tutorials now, and a lot of people have been reaching out to me and saying, hey, you're doing a lot of cards with stamps and watercoloring and stuff like that, but I bought the Cricut because of you. So how can we make some of those same cards using the product we have? The Cricut Explorer Cricut Maker machine is an amazing machine that's capable of doing so much. So I wanted to show you how to design a card in Cricut Design Space, and then we're also going to construct that card and kind of go through everything. A couple things before we start. All of the links are down below. So anything that I talk about is down below. If you use those links, we do get a small commission, so thank you for using the links down below. Also, Cricut currently is having a sale. It is part of their Memorial Day flash sale. There's product up to 50% off. It is an amazing sale. Plus, you can use combination with my code KK10 for 10% off and free shipping. And the last couple things is we are trying to get to 100,000 YouTube subscribers, Sean, aren't we?
We are.
And once we get there, we are giving away cash, we're giving away machines, we're giving away a ton of stuff. So if you've not subscribed, subscribe. Or if you subscribe, make sure to share the channel with everyone so that way we can get there and celebrate with all of you guys. Plus, there's this really cool thing where you can now get like really cool emojis during chat and stuff, and it's the little things in life that matter, right?
Gotta have them, yeah.
And the last but least, if you're not a Patreon, I will be using a file today for my Patreons that will be uploaded tonight in my Patreon group. So if it is something you want for $1 support, it gets you access to all of our files.
There you go, perfect.
All right, so let me show you the card we kind of are making today. This is the card we're gonna be making. So the inspiration for this card is actually something I was searching on Pinterest. So let me show you the inspiration that we got from this card. Just a sec. There we go. All right, there we go. So I found this card on Pinterest and I loved it. But you, of course, use stamps to get the background, you use a die to do the word, and then, of course, you use another stamp for underneath of it. So I love this look, but I wanted to think, how can I do this with the Cricut? So the card I came up with looks like this. It's got the same kind of concept. It's a little bit different, but we're going to show you how to do this. What this does is it utilizes the Cricut Design Space draw feature. It's also going to utilize some metal dies, and we're going to be doing some print and cut. So there's a lot of different stuff. So the overall card, this is what it looks like when it's all finished. Now, as we're going, we will go ahead and make sure to answer any questions. Make sure your questions are all in caps. And we do know there is a little typo. We were in a rush to get going. So the faux is F-A-U-X, not F-U-A-X. So my bad. We'll fix that for you. In fact, I think you can upload that, Sean, right now. Go ahead and fix that. Gotta always spell check. It should be in caps. There we go. All right, so while we're fixing that, thank you for pointing that out for us. Let me go ahead. We're going to go over to Cricut Design Space here. This is my desktop you guys are going to be seeing. Once again, Sean is going to be monitoring the questions once he figures out how to spell faux. Just a sec. There we go. And so this is Cricut Design Space. I'm going to walk you through how to do this. Once again, Sean's monitoring questions. So if you have any kind of questions, make sure to put them all in caps so that way he can tell me those questions. So I am going to start by starting a new project so we can start fresh. All right, so once we're in a new project, I'm going to let you know that I like my cards at an A2 size, which is a 4.25 by 5.5. So I'm going to add a shape. I was just at a square here, and I'm going to turn this little lock off up here. This lock here is what locks your square on the width and height. So I'm going to make sure it's unlocked, and my width I'm going to put 4.25, and then my height is going to be 5.5. So this will be the base of the card, so that's going to be white. Now my next layer in is going to be the writing, and I am going to add another shape, and this one we're going to start at I think I'm going to start at 4 inches. Let's reduce it a little bit down to a little bit there. So 4.25 and 5.25. And let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it's a little bigger than my last one. So I'm going to go down to a 3 point, I think I did it at 3 point, gosh, I want to say it was like 3.75. So 3.75, which means we're taking off a ½ inch, so it will be by 5 inches. And now we can center this and see if we like the distance it's going to give us around that card. I always like a little bit of a distance. It's a personal choice, but I like to pop it up with foam squares, which I do like that. And this is also going to be white. So now we will show you how we are going to get to this. So what we've done here already in Design Space is we have our base card, which is this right here. It's got a little bit of a stitch on it. This is the layer we're working on now. So this is, as you can see, it's raised up just a little there. So we're working on this layer here.
We have a question that you might be able to answer.
Okay, what's the question?
Question is, does the Maker work the same for Design Space? An example, can you get just one machine if you want the Maker, or do you need the Explorer as well?
So, does the work? Yes, it does. The basic, I mean, is that the question?
I think so, yeah. I think,
so,
does the Maker work? The Maker
and all of the Explorer machines will work on Cricut Design Space, what we're in right now. If you have a legacy machine, so that would be the Cricut Expression, Cricut Create, Cricut Imagine, Cricut Mini, those all will not use and work in Design Space. All right, so for our background, the easiest way for me to find this is I went to image search and I just searched designer background. And what this gave me is a whole bunch of backgrounds, but what I was specifically looking for is the backgrounds that had a draw feature. And you'll know that they're a draw feature because they'll be in this light kind of purple color. And this will utilize the pen in Cricut Design Space. And there's a ton of different ones you can see here. These are kind of from Anna Griffin. There's a whole bunch of other ones. But the one that I was drawn to was from a cartridge. It's one of my favorite cartridges. It's called Edge to Edge. And these were cartridges that were designed to make a background of your card. And it literally goes edge to edge. There is a first one, and then there was the second one. The second one, for those of you who didn't know this, has the ability to draw. It uploaded some draw features in there. So you have a ton of different options that you can use kind of for your background. And I wanted something with florals, which brought me to this one here. So we're gonna put this. Now I'm part of the Cricut Access. That's what that little A here means. That means I have access to this. I pay a monthly fee, gives me access to over 50,000 images, and this just happens to be one of them. So I can insert this into Design Space. Now we at first can see it is a square, which we do not want it to be a square. We want it to end up on this layer here that's white. You can see the layer that I want it to end up on this size. But what I want to do is I don't want to make this the same exact size as this layer, because you want to make sure you have a little bit overflow when you're drawing, so when you cut your shape you get a true edge to edge. So if this here is 3.75 by 5, let's do this one at like 4, and that means that would be 5.25. And we have to turn our little lock off. So 4 inches by 5.25. Now it is going to squish our flowers down a little bit, but that's okay. But what we can do now is make sure that this square right here is basically over this one. So we want to make sure that this here, so right now, if we were to do this, we want to make sure that the writing is on top of the square. So for example, if this was all the way in the front and we put our writing, that's not going to work. The writing has to be on top of the square. So we're going to make sure that that is to the front. And you can see right here it is. And now we want to select these two, just like so. And we're going to hit the align button and center. Now the reason we want the writing on top of the square is we want the writing to draw on top of the square. And we're going to do that using the attach feature. If the writing was on the bottom and you attach the square to the writing, it wouldn't work. So
we have a quick question from Laura. Can I use a JPEG that I upload to set it to draw it?
Yes, I will show that in 1 sec.
There you go, perfect. And as for you, Renee, we'll give you that answer towards the end of the show, so stay tuned.
All right, so we're gonna draw a square around this and hit attach. It's the one with the little paper clip. And now it's attached, which means this top layer is attached. So what this tells Cricut Design Space is it's going to draw, and then you can kind of see there's a cut line in there. So we have a little bit of an overhang there that we want because we want our cut lines to be right edge to edge with the drawing. So right now our card looks like this. So the next thing we're going to do is I am going to show you how we are going to do this. This is kindness and is always fashionable. This kindness is an image I created. This is the one that will be part of my Patreon. So we will show you that here right now. So basically the image I have is all ready to go. I can actually, it's right here, you can see kindness, but if you wanted to, you could, once you download it to your computer, you would hit upload, browse, and you're going to look for where the item is and then upload it. Since I already have it, I'm just going to bring it and hit insert image. And you're going to see it come right there. So this will be available to all my Patreons. But to answer the question, if I wanted this to draw instead of cut, right now it is cut. If I click over here, we have options. And right there, if I hit the right option, it changes it to a right. So now, instead of Cricut Design Space cutting that, it will write it. And you can do that with any image you bring into Cricut Design Space. Now, if you notice on the card, I have mine in a really nice ombre color here. And there's some sparkles on it. So how did we do that? Well, that's pretty fun. So all you have to do on this is, I just go to Google and I am going to look up ombre backgrounds. And then I can go to images here. It's going to bring up a ton of different images that are basically in the Google library. The color I liked was this one right here. And I'm just going to right click on this and save the image to my desktop. Just like so. And make sure this says desktop, save. And once it's on your desktop, we're going to go back to Cricut Design Space and right here on upload. But instead of uploading an image, we're going to upload a pattern. So this is where people will do patterns, digital paper, anything like that. So we're going to hit upload pattern and we're going to hit browse and look for our ombre color. So there it is.
I'm not sure if you answered the question in this earlier. Did you say what font you used on this?
I haven't because we haven't got to the font yet.
Oh, yeah.
So once I get to the font, I would be happy to share that with you.
Okay.
So if you notice, we don't see that pattern paper here. That doesn't mean it didn't upload. It uploads to a different spot. So we're going to go back to Cricut Design Space, click our kindness, and then over here, just like where we changed writing, we're going to click this, and there's a print option. Print, normally if you click print, means it's going to print that black solid color, and then your Cricut Explorer will cut around it. But there is a pattern option. As here you can see patterns. and you're going to see that ombre. So if we select ombre, we have now this as an ombre that it will print on our printer. Down below, you do have an edit box. It's very small, but kind of down here, you have an edit option. This allows you to play around with the ombre. You can zoom in, make your ombre different colors, zoom out to make it a little bit like stripes. You can play all sorts. You can change it you can rotate it if you want. So what's cool is you can kind of play around to get it exactly how you like, but we're going to leave it just like that. And now we have this as a print then cut. It will print and cut with that ombre color. And I'm going to make this, I want it to be about, let's do it at 3 inches wide. So we have this, that's going to end up going right here. So the last thing we have to do, and this is where the font will come into play, is we're going to do this portion right here. So we're going to make a little square box, and we're going to make that sentiment. So let's do that. So we know the inside of this card, we want it at 3.75. So we're going to bring in another shape, square. It's going to come in automatically locked, so we'll turn the lock off. And I want mine to be the 3.75, so it's edge to edge. And I think I want it to be, I don't want it to be too tall, but let's do it at 0.75, like so. We're going to come over here and change the color by selecting that little dot and change it to white. And Cricut Design Space is great because it changes, it tells you these are the colors you're using in your project. So if you import something that's a different color, you have the option to change that around. So we have our little bar, but we also want it to say, is always fashionable. And this is where that question comes in. So we'll select text, and I'm just going to type, is always fashionable. Make sure, since we've had some spelling issues, we want to make sure we get it. All right, so it automatically will bring it in as a cut. So if I was to hit Cricut Design Space, it's going to cut out these letters, but I want it to write those letters. So I'm going to go up here where it says font, click that. I'm going to choose Cricut first. That will bring up all the Cricut fonts. So you have all, system, which is fonts they found on your computer, or Cricut fonts. These are fonts that Cricut owns. And then over here where it says filter, I'm going to select that and choose writing because I want it to be wrote onto that little piece, that little box. And you can go through and find out the one you like. I'll let you know the one that I tend to always use in projects. It's my favorite font. Is called Skinny. I think it's called Skinny and Tall. Straight, or wait, no. Straight and Simple. Maybe it's I want to be skinny and tall. And that's why it's in my head. So there it is. It is called Straight and Simple. And now you can see it is a writable layer. We don't have it in that block look. Now, of course, this is way too big for my box. And so I'm going to adjust it down. And I have it at, it's basically 0.5 inches high. So if I just come up here and put 0.5 and enter, it's going to automatically adjust down. However, we have to tell Cricut where do we want this to be written at. So what I can do is, here's my box. Make sure that this is on the top layer, which it is. If it wasn't, you would know because your box would hide it. But if it doesn't hide it, that means you're on the top layer. So like, for example, if this was on the bottom layer, let's just show you. Moved it back. Your box would cover it. You need to make sure your writing is always on the top layer. So if you move this and it blocks it, you want to select your font, come up to Arrange, move to Front, and now it's on the top layer. So we can draw a box around our square, around our sentiment. We're going to hit this Align box, Center. Now it's nice and centered. And now we can hit Attach again. And then we have it, just like that. That's a little bit bigger than I think I want it though. So I'm going to detach it and make sure my font is the size I want it. Which I thought it was 0.5, but maybe it's a little, maybe it's 0.25.
That's really small.
That is really small, isn't it? Maybe it just looks different on mine. All right. So we're gonna make sure it's centered again. And once again, attach. So this would essentially go right here. And then kindness, we'll bring this to the front so you guys can see it, would go right here. So we're almost ready to go. There's one thing which won't make a lot of sense right now, but I will explain it to you. I'm going to take this kindness and I'm going to duplicate it. Move it off to the side, and I'm going to change it over here from a print then cut to just cut and in black, just like this. And we're going to duplicate that another 3 times. And you're going to be, why are you doing this? I will explain that to you in one quick sec. Just like so. And we are ready to go now. So we would be able to hit make it, just like so. And let's explain these really quick. And then I've already cut everything, so this way we can build the card to save time. This first one is your print then cut. So when you load this into your Cricut design space, or into your machine, if you were to hit continue, basically it is going to print using your home printer, okay? So when you do this, you're gonna get something that looks like this. These here basically are the guides to tell Cricut how to cut around this. So the boxes for that. But you can see we have all really nice colors. You always wanna make sure your bleed is on. So when we print this, so if I was to print this, send to printer, right here where you see bleed, we want to make sure that's on. What the bleed does for you is it gives you a little bit of a buffer. And I cut this one, so I don't know if you can see it. Let me get real close. I'll show you in a different one. So when it cuts this, it will cut and leave a little edge around that. See? So this way you don't get white edges. Brilliant! 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 And then once it's actually cut, what you will have is this. So the first one, that is what it will look like once it's cut. You'll get something that looks like this. All right. When we go to the next layer, I want to give you a couple of tips. So this layer here is the drawing layer. So essentially, it is going to draw your flowers and cut it. It's going to cut your square, which is your base square, and it's going to cut that is always fashionable. This will take a while. That is a lot of cutting or a lot of drawing using the pen. So it is very important that you do not have a screensaver going, and you want to make sure you're in a dedicated browser. And what I mean by that is I use Google Chrome, and do you see how I have 2 tabs open right now, my ombre and this? We want to go ahead and drag this down, and now it's in a dedicated browser, because that way it won't slow your machine down, and you don't want the screensaver to come on, because if your screensaver comes on, you could interrupt Bluetooth connection or anything else and it could stop. So when you're doing this one, it does take a little bit of time. I use the Cricut 0.4 tip black pen. You want a very fine tip pen, and what's nice about the Cricut pen is it doesn't smear as it's going and cutting. So once you're done with this layer, let me show you what you're going to end up with. So this is your cut. And remember how I said we want it to overhang a little bit? The reason why is now we have a nice edge to edge. So when it cuts, it goes edge to edge. There's nothing, you're not, because right here, if it, you didn't
it's like you don't have spaces. It should...
Well, because if you cut it right on, sometimes your pen might not go all the way, and it's not edge to edge, and you can tell. So by giving yourself that little wiggle room, you won't have that worry. Then, of course, it cut our base and is always fashionable. So right now, if we were to build this card, we would have this, 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 and then, of course, our kindness. But you guys are already asking, well, what was this last screen for? So let me go to this screen here. And this screen is, you don't have to cut it in black. I cut it in white. And what this does is, basically, I want this to come up from my card to give it some dimension. And instead of using foam squares, because my Cricut, I don't have any foam sheets, I just cut 4 layers of white cardstock. You can see it right there. I'm going to show you how to fix that to where you get a nice dimension on your card without worrying about, oh, I need to cut foam or cut little tiny foam squares. So when those cut out, you will have all of these. So, just a sec. Yep. So you're going to have all of these right here. And then at that point, you are done with your Cricut. Now we can show you how we put the card together. But before we do that, anybody have any questions on the Cricut Design Space aspect? So we're still here. I can show you. You do have the option, if you have 8.5 paper, I'll show you this really quick. There's an edit key right here. If you have 8.5 paper and you'd rather go down, you can move your stuff still before you go. Just like so. Then hit done, and it will cut it like that. So this uses 3 mats. It's using a print and cut, which we have there. It's using the draw feature right here. And then, of course, just the regular cut. And you're always going to follow what your Cricut says. Now, I have it to cardstock plus, and I'll explain why in just a sec. But you basically are always going to follow down below. So this one here, because this mat 2 is drawing, it's telling you put the pen in clamp A, put your fine point in clamp B. This one you'll notice it doesn't say that because we don't need any tool in A. Always follow Cricut Design Space. All right. Okay, guys, so the reason I had mine set to cardstock plus is when I do print and cut, I use my Canon IP, I think it's an IP8730 maybe? It's an IP something, 8720. It's an IP8720. It was recommended to me by Teresa Collins. She said it was a great printer, and it's been amazing. I like a thicker cardstock. Now, I gave you the links down below. One goes to Amazon, one goes to Walmart. Don't buy it on Amazon. Buy it at Walmart. It's $5 for this whole pack. It's 110-pound cardstock, which I love.
Really nice stuff.
It's really nice stuff. But when you cut it in the Cricut, you have to make sure it's on cardstock plus. If you have the Explorer. If you have the Maker, you want to just make sure it's set to cardstock plus or heavy cardstock.
And there we go. Rosalinda, you have a question? Please go ahead and let us know.
All right. So we're going to start building the card, and if there is questions, Sean can interrupt me.
I will do that.
The first thing we're going to do is on this card, you're going to notice we have a little bit of some stitching. You can have your Cricut stitch little cut lines. I'm not 100% satisfied with it, so I'm going to use my Cuttlebug, and I'm going to use some dies from My Favorite Things. So we're going to be using that square die Sean can show you. And we're going to be using this one. I gave you a link down below of all the stitch dies, but these are the ones we're going to be using.
So small.
Now I use the Cuttlebug just because it's easy. It's very portable. It uses pretty much all my dies. So I'll open it up. Just go like this. Now on the base card, which is where we're putting the square.
Cricut's Nature, that ream of paper is how many in a ream?
120, I think. 150.
150.
Get it at Walmart. Do not get it at Amazon unless you don't have a Walmart, but then go to Amazon. I think it's like $5.92 at Walmart, and Amazon's like 15 bucks.
Yeah, great price.
Yeah. So because this is a perfect fit, as you've noticed, we'll flip this stitch die. For those that don't know what a stitch die is, that's what it looks like. I'm going to perfectly align it, just like so, and put it on. I use the metal mat from Cricut, which is this.
Gotta love that.
I do the sandwich as an A, the metal, or magnetic, not metal, sorry. My B plate B plate here. And then, of course, my cardstock is going to be perfectly positioned. So I guess I didn't have to have Cricut cut this. I could have done this, but if you don't have this die. And then I use purple tape. The reason I use purple tape from ThermoWeb is it does not rip my paper. I used to use blue painter's tape, and every once in a while, when I remove it off of my, like I remove the tape off of the die, it would rip my cardstock, which, let me tell you, if you are doing a detailed flower and you're using colors, and it rips it, you will cry. So I just go in once and back, and it will make that cracking sound. That's normal. Don't freak out.
So Rosalinda has a question. It's kind of a little off a little bit, but we'll see if we can answer it.
Okay.
She says, can you make something on Cameo machine with glitter cardstock?
You can. You just have to figure out the settings. It depends on the cardstock you're using. Cameo settings are a little bit different than Cricut, where it doesn't, you have to kind of tell the machine what the settings are. But if you Google Cameo glitter cardstock settings, there is a ton of blogs out there that will give you those settings.
Yep. Does Cricut sell the stitch dies?
They do not. So my favorite place to get stitch dies are two places. My Favorite Things, which is the link down below, or Little Inker Designs. They both have amazing stitch. So here you go. So let me see if I can get that to, there we go, woohoo! All right, so the other thing we need to do is add the stitch to each side of our sentiment, which is right here. So this one we have to do twice because we need to line it up here on the side, and then we're just going to, once again, do a little bit of purple tape.
Now, Cricut Nature was, does the stitch die cut the outline or just the stitch?
Some cut the outlines and some just do the stitch. And the way you're going to be able to tell, and I'll have Sean show you this as I get this, is there is a stitch and then there is a definite hard line there. That hard line is what cuts it. And I'll show you once I run this one through the difference.
This one is, or is it not?
That one is cut.
This one is cut,
so you can see the outline of it.
So you can see, whoop.
If you didn't drop it.
I didn't drop it, yeah. So if you see, I can get it in focus here, you see that very straight line. If I pull it this way here, maybe see it. This definitely is a cut and a stitch at the same time.
Yeah. So like on this one here, this is a stitch only. And you can tell, and I need this back, but there is no hard lines. It's just...
Just a stitch. Yeah, there you
it's
go.
just the stitch, no hard lines. So if it has hard lines, it will have a stitch. If it does, or it will cut it. If not, it will just be a stitch. So it really depends when you're looking at a website. The website will tell you like, it'll show you like the stitch line and then the hard line showing like, hey, this is where it's going to cut it.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. She just bought her maker from your affiliate.
Hi, Jessica.
She just bought one.
Oh, the maker. You are going to love the maker. So the maker, I will say, today I'm showing you guys how to just cut cardstock to give your dimension to your project. If you have the maker cuts craft foam beautifully. So if you have the maker, you can save time by just cutting craft foam at a point. I'll show you here. We're almost there. So there you go. There's a stitch on that.
Nice.
So we have everything, but now we need to do where we bulk it up. Now, what I mean by bulk it up is to give it dimension. So let me show you what we're doing on that. So this is, if you have the Cricut Explorer, it can cut craft foam. I don't want to say it won't. It uses the deep cut blade. It does go over it to about 2 or 3 times. I don't get the best results. The maker, beautifully, because it uses the rotary blade. So instead of hassling with that, for me it's easier to just cut extra amounts of my words. So I cut 4 extra, and you can kind of see it there. Let me get real close for you. So that's how we're going to give it a little bit of raised here. So what we're going to do is we're using this. This is one of my favorite tools I have. It's the Xyron X Create a Sticker. And a lot of people think, oh, this just creates a sticker for kids. No, this will actually put adhesive on anything you need to get it to raise or to stick to anything.
Yeah.
So we're going to put this is the print and cut.
Bye, Mel.
Right here. So we're going to put that. And all you do is you put it in the entry here and you pull here. Now they do offer repositionable and they offer permanent. I'm using the permanent, but even the permanent has a little give to it. And I also have the links down below there And then we're going to cut this one off. And the trick to this is it literally says rub and peel, and they're not kidding. You want to make sure you rub really good, because what you're doing is you're releasing the adhesive in the parts that you don't want it. It won't be perfect, which we'll show you the trick to that, but we're going to put that off to the side, and we're going to put all of these kindness in my Xyron. We're just going to run it through. And once one's out of the chute, we can put the next one in. I like to make sound effects. I think it helps.
It does help.
They also have a bigger Xyron that you can put more. It's called the Xyron Creative Station, and you can put more. I tend to just always grab, I don't know why I tend to grab small, maybe because that's just, I don't know. So for me, I always grab my 1.5 inch and make it work. But if you're cutting something bigger, let's say 3-4 inches, they do have bigger machines. They go all the way up to 9 inches if you need it. So, all right. So we are going to start with this one. So what I'm saying is you just want to rub.
Rub-a-dub-dub.
Rub-a-dub-dub. The more the better, but I'm going to show you the trick if you don't rub very good. So we're going to remove the top layer. And I like to go kind of at a medium pace. If you go too fast, sometimes you can actually take the adhesive from underneath your layer. So that's where the rubbing definitely comes into play. You can throw this stuff away. And then what I do to really get in there is I take a pokey tool. I use the Sweet Sugar Bells. You can use anything. And I will actually go around my letters, especially in, see where there's those big areas like this? I'll just take this in there, and that breaks up any adhesive that didn't break up on its own. So I will literally do that around all these letters. And you'll actually see it. It will make these little tiny, I don't know if you guys can see that, but they make these little tiny gobs of kind of glue right there on my finger. If you don't do that, what will happen, let me show you, it's just beautimous. We didn't do this one down here. So what will happen is you'll get what I call little tiny spider webs in there. So you can see, you get kind of this glue. Can you see in there? There's little pieces of glue kind of in there.
You can almost see it in there.
Yeah. So all you have to do is take, once again, your tool here, and it gets rid of it. Just like that. And what we are doing here is we are literally, let me get here so you guys can see, we're building up with just cardstock to give us that dimension that we want on the cards. So you would do this for really intricate words that you don't have a metal die for and can cut craft foam. Or if you have the maker, you could cut it with the maker. But it's really important that if you don't have it and you don't want to try to cut craft foam or all that good jazz, I've always built it up just using multiple layers of cardstock, and it works great. And what's nice on, well, you can do it with craft foam too, but on cardstock is it can match whatever color you're doing. Because you do, the worst thing is to draw attention to the design underneath. So if you're, let's say your top design's black, you want to use black cardstock underneath so that way it matches. Because if you use something that's completely different color, it's going to stand out. Why'd you laugh?
I was just reading a quick question. Is a Cricut machine better than a Cameo? Depends.
Yeah, it's a user preference on what you're going to be using it for. The Cricut does offer more pressure, so that's not undeniable. I mean, you can see that in almost any review video. It's a little bit more intricate. The Cameo definitely has some points on the print and cut. It has a little bit of a bigger print and cut area. So it really depends what you're going to use the machine for. I do have a video series comparing all of them and the Brother Scan and Cut. So if you look at my channel and look for that, you can then see all of the machines side by side. In the videos, I don't really tell you, oh, this is the one I would go with. I just kind of go over, this is how they cut, this is the print and cut, this is, I think I go over how it draws. So that way you can figure out what's best for your life. I tend to use my Cricut Explorer more. but I do turn to my Cameo for print and cut on bigger print and cut projects. So the Cricut's a little limited on the print and cut right now. All right, so we have it stacked, but I still have some of that spider webs in there. So you can really see it there. See that right there, how it's, you get those little kind of spider webs. Literally just take your tool here and it will break it up.
Will the Explorer Air cut craft foam? If so, do I need a special blade?
So it will cut craft foam. You have to make sure you test it. So it will cut, if Cricut still has their craft foam in stock, it will cut, there's no problem. You do need a deep cut blade, which I've given you the link down below for that. You will need the deep cut for sure. Other craft foam, I've cut DIXIE craft foam, but some of my other thicker craft foam, it doesn't cut, and sometimes it struggles with the adhesive craft foam. So it will, sometimes you just have to do more passes. We did a video where our original Cricut Explorer cut craft foam, but we had to go over it, I think 8 times.
Something like that.
But we weren't using the deep cut blade at the time.
Yeah. The Maker will do it with no problem.
The Maker uses a rotary blade. So yeah, it will do it with no problem. All right, so we are going to finish with our print and cut right here. So here is the print and cut. And you don't have to be super careful, but sometimes print and cut, depending on the material you printed it on, when you crease it, it can leave lines. Now we'll be covering ours up with kind of a glitter, so it doesn't matter as much, but some people, it will leave little creases in there because I'm just cutting on or using regular cardstock. So depending on your printer, the ink you have and stuff, I would just say, you can kind of see it right here. I'll show you what I mean. Like I said, I'm using glitter, so it won't matter, but right here on the E, there's a little crease there. You can't really see it on the camera, but in person you can. It's right here, and it shows a little bit of the white below. Not a huge deal, but to some people, it's a no bueno if you are a perfectionist. Not saying I am.
You are.
All right, so we have all of my letters on there. We're leaving it on the Xyron backing right now because we don't want to remove it until we're ready to stick it on our project. So we're going to get all those little, what I call spider webs out of there. Some people will also get rid of these spider webs by taking a ballpoint pen while it's still in the, with the top layer of this stuff on it. And actually going over like each of these, like kind of drawing around it.
Cricut, you really just need to take that leap and pull it out of the box. She's got an Explorer Air.
Oh.
And it's still in the box. She says it's intimidating.
I get that.
You get, yeah, but
I get it.
Pull it
All
out,
right.
watch videos, and voila, you'll be a professional in no time.
Time to build our card. All right, so here's all our pieces. This is the completed card, so let's go ahead and build it. I get my card bases. Michael's will have these card bases with their Best Buy deals and stuff, and you can get like 60 cards, and they're the A2 size card, which I like. So I tend to just stock up on that because I usually always have a front that I'm covering it with anyways, so might as well save time and money. So I'm just using my Fun Stamper's Journey adhesive roller here. I really like this adhesive roller. There's a few things that Fun Stamper's Journey that I keep going back to. This is one of them, and my stamp cleaner is the other that are my favorite items. And we're just going to put this on the front of our card. Dun, 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 dun.
Voila. Or should that be a voila?
Voila!
With a V. Voila.
Voila!
Voila.
All right, so this is the layer that the Cricut drew. What I love about the Cricut pens is I can run my fingers over this now, and it's not, I mean, we're not seeing any smearing and stuff. So I'm going to turn it upside down. I got this off Amazon. I gave you the link down below. And this, literally, I love cards to pop. I don't know why. I always have. So I probably put foam tape in every single card somehow. It's either my base layer to my top layer. I love it. I also, and I'm very particular on this, put a lot of foam tape because nothing is worse. If you don't support your this layer with enough foam tape, even with a heavy cardstock, when it mails, it'll start to do this. It'll sag. So that's why I always tell people, if you're gonna do foam, do foam. Don't like kind of half support it. You wanna.
Are you still Fun Summer Journey rep?
I am. I haven't done a lot of projects with it because I'm addicted to my chalk couture right now, and I have a great chalk couture team, so I've probably focused on a lot of that. So I might get back into it. Fun Stamper's Journey has definitely went through some changes recently, which is not a good or a bad thing, but it's just trying to find its groove again, I think. But I love the product. We have amazing silks and sprays, and I love it.
Amanda asks, are the Cricut pens Copic friendly or waterproof or for watercolors?
So I will double check. I believe they are, but I will double check that. I'm not 100% sure because when I usually use my Copics and my watercolors, I'm using black stamping ink. Very rarely will I color in something like this, but we'll test that because I have an extra piece here. So at the very end of the video, let's test it. To be honest, I don't remember. I believe they were in the beginning and something changed and now they may not be, but I could be wrong on that. All right, so we're just gonna center this bad boy right here. So we have that layer here, just like that. The next thing is this layer. Is always fashionable. So I'm always going to do this first and then the kindness on top. So what I'll do on here is put some adhesive on the back. And I'm letting everyone know, if you do not have this tool in your arsenal as a card maker, you need it. It's the T-square. It's $5. The Amazon link's down below. Literally, you put it to one side of your card like so. You move it to where you want your line. And then that way you can actually... don't have to worry about, okay, did I get it straight? Putting it up, it gets you a nice clean edge every time. I love this T-square. It's amazing. All right.
Jessica's watching us and Melanie.
Yeah. So here's our kindness. We can now peel this off from the backing. I'm going to start with the K because I know that I want a certain spacing on each side. So we can put that off to this side right here. Peel off the rest. Make sure there's no little, what I call spider webs in there. So I have just a few.
You have one between and there you go.
And you actually can still do this even when it's still on the card if you see some more. We're gonna line it up so that the parts of this will dip down into the card. So it lines up like right here and here. So you can see where it kind of is gonna, the K lines up the I, this part of the end, but this part of the end dips down, this part here, they dip down, and they're gonna cover a little bit of your words. So if that bugs you, you can move it around. It doesn't bug me. All right, the final resistance is this stuff. So these are called Nouveau crystal drops. I love them.
Yeah, good stuff.
Compared, they have a really nice applicator. Look at this thing, it's really pinpoint. So you have a lot of control with this stuff. And we are just going to put,
zoom in a little bit.
and you do not have to squeeze a lot, just squeeze a little bit, and we're gonna run it over that ombre. What this will do for you is a couple things. It will obviously add glitter. It will make it super shiny, but it's gonna take the harshness of your ombre colors and soften it a little bit. So sometimes ombre colors, depending on which one you go with, the ombre going like on this one from the pink to the purple can be a little harsh on the eye, and this actually makes it look like the colors blend a little more. So we're just gonna run this all over like so. And this actually, it takes about a half hour to dry. I did the card that I'm making right before we went live. I was probably finished it half hour and it's completely dry. So it comes in all sorts of colors. There's glitter, there's some that just, if you don't want the glitter, there's some that gives it a shine, which is their crystal drops. This is their crystal drops with glitter. So just like that. And because we have that nice adhesive on the entire thing, we're not going to see those corners. When it dries, it's not going to curve up because you put adhesive down everywhere. So look at that glitter. Woo-wee. So this was done about a half hour prior to us going live, and it's completely dry. See?
Nice.
There you go. There you go.
Beautiness.
So you can actually mimic that look in Cricut Design Space, which is really cool because some people, you know, buying a whole bunch of stamps and inks and stuff can be a little expensive. Now, is it 100%? Nope, but it gives you the look and stuff. Mm-hmm. I do not think, to answer the question before we go on, Sean, someone asked, I do not believe that these are
something.
These I do not believe are safe for markers. The new formula. Nope.
Nope.
You can see it right there. So I know that was brought up to Cricut because some people want to color with it, and I believe they are making it or looking at it, looking into it and stuff. Because originally they were. My first sets did not bleed, and now they bleed a little bit. You can see the bleeding there, just a smidgy. So yeah, not 100% there.
That's okay.
All right, guys, so that is how you can, don't touch the wetness.
The wetness. So
just
pretty.
Like that. So we should give away these cards.
We should.
Who should we give them away to?
I don't know. You're always good. You're always good with coming up with something.
How about, let's see here. Let's do, are you watching comments?
I'm watching comments.
I know it's a little bit delayed, but we have 2 to give away. The first 2 people that can tell me the company that makes the stitch dies I used in today's project.
There you go.
Do you know the answer, Sean?
I do not.
O-N-G.
If you said it, I would know.
I have to write it down for him.
Did you buy or make the ombre paper? Printed it.
We printed it. Print and cut.
Mm-hmm.
Here, we'll bring this down so you guys...
Me.
So who makes that stitch die? The first 2 people, and you each get a card. I'll send it off to you tonight.
Please, me. Everybody wants it, but you got to answer the question. My Favorite Things by Amanda Herbert.
Amanda Herbert, you get the first one.
And Ronnie S.
And Ronnie S. So reach out to me. Gina K is a good guess. I love me some Gina K.
She's got some great looking stitch dies too that are very cool.
Yes, I love her stitch dies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So I will get those 2. Just reach out to me on Facebook or YouTube. Let me know. If you missed any part of this, definitely go watch it back. We did cover a lot. We covered how to do a print and cut ombre. So some people are asking what color is the ombre. That's actually print and cut. We just went to Google Images and found the color we like and uploaded it as a pattern, and then we're able to use it in our print and cut items. The font, this isn't a font. It's actually a file I created that I'll be giving to my Patreons. But pretty much, once again, Google Images, you can almost download anything and make it into that. But we showed them how to attach, we showed how to draw, all that stuff. So it's a lot to cover that video, but that way you guys can see all the different ways to use Cricut Design Space, because it's a pretty powerful program.
It is. So there was a question Renee R asked, and this was at the beginning of the show, and that's why we're going to probably address it now. Do we know what our schedule will be weekly?
So our schedule, I am trying to go back to a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule. It's been a little chaotic just because Memorial Day weekend. Vacation. I've only been off. Yeah, we just got back from Hawaii, and then last week was my first week off, and it was kind of weird trying to get into the groove of being at home all day and figuring it out. So I will be hopefully going to a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it will be back to a Monday where we make a project like this. Wednesday usually will be a chalk couture. Thursday will be something else, whether it be us doing a taste test, us having fun, us showing. And then every once in a while, just like always, we'll randomly do lives either on Facebook or here where we go shopping with you or we give you a tour of something, kind of just in the daily life of Ken's creation and stuff.
So Tanya Golf would like to know, is it golf or golf? Golf. Sorry, Tanya. What is Patreon?
So Patreon is a way for you to support creators on YouTube. It's not just people that do crafts. There's people that show you how to edit videos. There's people that draw. There's people that do all sorts of stuff. And you basically donate a level, whether it be $1, $2, $10, and each level you earn rewards. Mine will be relaunching June 1st. There is some files available, especially to make your own shirts, do things. But I'm relaunching it with a whole new set of rewards. Unfortunately, Patreon was one of those areas when I was working full-time and doing Ken's Creations full-time that I just couldn't completely focus on, so I haven't promoted it a bunch. But I will be uploading some files here soon, some really cool files, starting June 1st. So if you want the file for the kindness, I'll be uploading that later tonight for my Patreons and the whole card base. So donate and you'll have access to that in Patreon.
When's Ken from the car? The other important thing they want to know.
So Ken from the car is usually...
That's going to be random, isn't it?
It's usually going to be Wednesday day. Ken from the car is usually when I will go over Cricut sales or silhouette sales, whatever sales with everyone. Usually Cricut sales end on a Tuesday and restart on a Wednesday. So that's usually the day that I'll go over sales that I found everywhere online, something I love or just whatever's on my mind. There's no time, there's no rhyme or reason. Sometimes I drink coffee and I'm like, let's do this. And then sometimes I'm hyper. It's kind of got a cult following now.
Yeah, somebody says I should cook.
You should. Sean should do a cooking channel. I keep telling him this, but he's the one listening to me. He doesn't want to listen. He's too busy doing this kind of stuff.
Just more time.
It is, yeah.
Because it takes a lot of work to set things up to do cooking. But it can be done.
So Cricut Nature asks, what is print then cut? Yes, print then cut is something in Design Space. If you didn't watch this full video, go back and watch it. That's how we print. That's how we did the kindness. Print then cut allows you to take any image in the library or anything you find on Google. You can actually tell your home printer to print it on a piece of cardstock, just like this. I think I have an example here somewhere. There it is. So like the kindness is printed like this. And it puts a, here, yeah, go to that and then you can see it. So it prints it just like this on your home printer. There's this little black box around it. The machine registers the black box and it'll print or it'll cut perfectly around it. So you don't have any white edges. So the Cricut machine already has that. It has a little optical eye in there that reads everything. So it does it perfectly. Their print and cut is amazing because they have that bleed technology. For those of you who are Cameo owners, we did find out in Silhouette Cameo that they are also bringing out the bleed technology in 4.2, I think.
4.2, yep.
4.2. So that'll be something for you Cameo owners. You'll finally have a bleed option to eliminate those white lines.
Sweet.
Which is cool. So that was one of my, that and the handwriting was cool.
Handwriting was very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah. If you guys have any question on Cricut Design Space, let me know. If you want to see more specific Cricut Design Space videos, I am going to be launching a series going over Cricut Design Space front to back and Silhouette Studio front to back. And it's going to be a big project. There's a lot of topics to cover, but I want to break it down so it's not so overwhelming. I had a friend reach out to me that just got a Cricut Maker and she had a whole bunch of questions. And it's when you've done it so long, to me, it's like, oh yeah, you just flatten it and you do this and you do this. And I can see when you're telling that to people, they're like Sean sometimes is like, what?
Uh-oh, that's not
you
good.
are fired.
Larry Bruce?
Well, you better take that. Bye. So, all right, guys, at that note, we will end. Thank you so much for watching us. And if you have any questions or anything, let me know. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Bye.